Municipal meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Sir, would you lead us in the pledge tonight?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No prayer tonight. Last week's prayer still holds for the same meeting. And we were going to do this in Cleveland, but we couldn't find any place in Cleveland that we could. I guess there's a couple of main events happening up there tonight. So, Kathy, could we have the roll call, please?
Fox,
Present.
Hayes,
Here.
Barstow,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Pickens,
Here.
Walter,
Here.
Carter,
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum present. The purpose of this meeting tonight is to discuss and take any action deemed necessary with regards to ordinance 2015-4247, an ordinance approving a compensation agreement with the Licking Heights Local School District in connection with possible property tax exemption in a portion of the Pataskala Corporate Park, and Resolution 2016-057, a resolution approving a compensation agreement between the City of Pataskala, Licking County Commissioners, Southwest Licking Local School District, and the Licking Heights School District, and directing the city administrator to execute the agreement. We'll start out tonight with citizens' comments. Does anybody wish to speak concerning this special council meeting? Okay. Unfinished business, ordinances. Okay, ordinance, is there any desire to take ordinance 2015-4247 off the table?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Walter,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Fox. Discussion? And roll, please.
Fox,
Yes.
Hayes,
I'll recuse myself.
Refuse.
Recuse? I had gum in my mouth. It was between my teeth. Sorry, it was either that or spit it onto the microphone.
Refuse yourself.
I refuse to recuse. No, I refuse. Sorry, I'll put my gum in the back of my mouth.
Yes, on the motion.
Lee,
No.
Pickens,
No.
Walter,
This is to move it off the table?
Yes.
Yes.
Carter,
I recuse myself.
That's everybody, right? So yes is a win. So it's off the table. Discussion? Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion?
I would like to ask if there's been any movement whatsoever, BJ, on this ordinance.
Mr. Kane?
With this one, my recommendation is to leave it on the table. There hasn't been any movement on this one with the school districts. We've been focused on the one that is related to 2016-057. This one is, as we know, specific only, this ordinance that was just taken off the table is specific only to Licking Heights, not Southwest Licking. We have not had any additional discussions related to this with either school district. It's been focused on the one that is related to Resolution 16057. So my recommendation is to leave it on the table and work towards.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask where we are on the table with this? How many readings have we had?
Kathy?
have completed 3 readings. We're ready for a motion to adopt.
Any other discussion?
I suppose I might as well ask, last time, were any changes made to it, or was it simply retabled?
Mr.
Simply
Kane?
tabled it.
Okay.
There were no, I believe there were changes discussed, but none were made, and it was just tabled as is.
Okay. If there's, yes, sir.
I just like to ask BJ, is this, I guess it caught me off a little off guard here. Do we have all the information on this? Does it even still, does this agreement, being that it was put together before we came on council, would the details in it still pertain to where we're at today? I mean, obviously, I'm for an agreement.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is the one or.
We haven't had those discussions. So to say, are these the details that we'd all agree to, I can't say that right now. I know at the time Southwest Licking was not part of these discussions, so I would say no.
Okay. I mean, I just want to make it perfectly clear. I would like to see an agreement. I want an agreement. I just don't have enough info as to is this the one
Right.
we want.
Right.
I don't
don't know.
Mr.
Right. I
Walter?
guess that's was going to be my discussion point also. Given that the other agreement that's before us is going to be before us tonight, is this agreement still valid? Should we look at it to include Southwest Licking when we open up the negotiations again with them? And then obviously some of the amendments that were proposed last meeting but yet not finalized in this are still amendments that would need to be at least evaluated for this ordinance.
That's your analysis, Mr. King, also?
It is, and Andy's right. Looking at those proposed amendments, I think those are things certainly need to be discussed amongst all parties. We haven't had that opportunity to discuss them with all parties. This is only with Licking Heights. It's not with Southwest Licking. So, again, my recommendation is to leave it on the table and go back and start those discussions with the school districts moving forward.
Mr. Lee?
I think his hand was up first.
Mr. King, do you think that the city and the school district can sit down and have a fair and honest discussion?
I do.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Tim? I'm sorry, Mr. Hicken.
It's okay. I would voice the exact same concerns that I voiced last time when this first came off the table when we were talking about the amendments. I'm almost want to ask if it should just be voted down, but I think until we actually can take the time to go back and do it, I'd make a motion to put it back on the table.
Got a motion to table.
Second.
Got a second. Kathy, when you're ready.
The second was,
Mr. Lee?
Hayes,
Recuse?
Barstow,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Carter.
Recuse.
Okay, back on the table.
One moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fox,
Yes.
Sorry about that. Rocks, table. Resolutions. Resolution 2016-057.
So moved.
A resolution consenting to a compensation agreement between the City of Pataskala, Licking County, Southwest Licking Local School District, Licking Heights School District, and AEP, Ohio Transmission Company, Inc., and authorizing and directing the city administrator to execute the agreement. This was tabled also. It needs taken off the table. And
Oh, that's
I think
why.
did you
Make a
just-
motion to take resolution 2016-057 off the table.
Motion to take off the table by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Barstow,
This is take off the table?
Yes.
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 Hicken,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Carter,
Recuse.
Fox,
Yes.
Hayes,
Recuse.
All right. It's off the table. Discussion. Mr. Walter.
I'm going to start with, I don't know if anybody from AEP is here, but I do want to make sure that they understand that, even though this discussion's probably going to go a lot of different ways, a lot of different points to be made, AEP is currently a commercial owner in Pataskala, and if this does pass, will be a very large commercial entity in Pataskala, and we do appreciate, I at least will say that I appreciate their business as they are now and as they proposed for the future. With that being said, this agreement, in my opinion, is not what the city wanted to begin with. It is something that has a lot of work that has been done for it, but I would say that through the analysis of it, it's not a perfect agreement for the city by any means. A lot of pros and cons to it, in my opinion. I think the cons are, like I said, it's not the best. It's not the agreement that we would have wanted for the 100 acres. It's not the highest and best use for the 100 acres. With the idea that it doesn't necessarily spur secondary businesses for the and secondary businesses meaning restaurants, gas stations, that type of stuff for for the area due to the fact that it's not a big employer. With that being said, also, the positives that I see are the benefits to the JRS site. The substation that's being built is an enormous benefit. A lot of details there, but in essence, a substation that produces dual power feeds for the JRS site is an extremely important development tool for the site, and it will attract a totally different type of clientele for that use. The second part is that it's tax relief, in essence, in my opinion, for the communities that the school districts serve, as well as the fire district. That's a very key item, very positive item. And lastly, I recall back to working with the group that did the charter review. And through the charter review, there was a lot of discussion about cooperatives and being cooperative and being supportive of the school districts and vice versa. And I think that this one shows very strongly, if the city were to approve this one, that it would be a huge support for the schools as they are to benefit highly from this agreement. I'm not going to quote exact numbers. I think the paper did, but obviously a big financial benefit for them and for the county, for that matter. So I wanted to bring those points out for discussion.
Very good. Any other discussion?
Go ahead, Mike.
Mr. Fox?
Yeah, I'd like to take off a little bit from Andy. First, any development is a good development, in my view. I think that this has the potential to be an excellent development. However, I think that the school district took advantage of this situation. I think the county took advantage of this situation. I think Southwest Licking Schools took advantage of this situation and left the city sitting pretty sad. I don't think that those three entities took into consideration our needs whatsoever. I think that they were greedy and manipulative and refused to be forthcoming in negotiations with the city. I'm not sure that their negotiations were in fact legal, besides being inherently unfair to the city of Pataskala. That being said, I'm not sure what us voting in favor of it would do for the city. I think it would put us sucking hind tit, to be polite, and would make us have an awful lot of makeup to do on this. The first thing that has to happen is we've got to make sure that the finances are even available to take from the rest of the projects in the city to continue to maintain that road. So the school district's getting a lot of money, the county's getting a lot of money, but we're not getting a lot of money, so we've got to come up with a bare minimum of $250,000. It's not a lot, but it also could have been easily made in this agreement. And it really is discouraging that the school districts and the county chose to play hardball with it. That being said, I don't think it's right to the rest of the residents in the city to basically turn it down. But I want the school district to understand I'm only around for at least 3 more years that I know of. And for the next 3 years, I'm going to hold them to task to make sure that the city gets what we need and what is favorable to the rest of the residents in the city, the taxpayers, when it comes to taking care of the JRS site. And I'm going to fight as hard as I can to do that. you know, with the exception of some additional information that I received today, I had every intent of coming in and voting no. I wish I could still do that. I wholeheartedly wish that we could sit down and have an open meeting with the school districts, both of them, the county, AEP, and all involved parties, so that we could do what the intent of Ohio's open meeting law is, which is to discuss these type of things in open session. That did not happen with this. I think it's unfortunate that that did not happen with it. I think it's very suspect that that didn't happen with this.
Mr. Higgin?
Well, you know, every time sometimes when we walk out of here, I look and I scratch my head. We can't question each other's votes by council rules, but I think, why in the world did somebody vote that way tonight? That won't happen with me tonight, because I agree with some of the things that have been said, and I can understand that the deal that is on the table is not necessarily what the people of Pataskala were told exactly what would happen in that site. So, you know, whether it's the way the regulations had to be written or whether it was a lack of anticipation, I don't know, but I'm left with the question, for me personally, whether or not the property seller and AEP should be penalized for that. And I think that the answer for me is no. While AEP is not building a giant structure that's going to house hundreds of people, as Andy mentioned, they are planning on a significant upgrade to the power system for the site. I think that's only can be a plus. I think it can help to attract other you know, businesses / industry to that site. And everything that I've been able to find, and this almost is maybe even going a little bit further than what Mr. Walter said, is in asking around, is that AEP is a great civic partner. They in the places that they're at, where they have large places, and I've asked as much as I could, they seem to be a very good civic partner. And I don't know if that means the AEP park or a 10K run or whatever it happens to mean. I think that that's the intangible type of things that I'm looking at, you know, when I look at something like this. I don't hold Mr. Fox's views that maybe not to the degree that he holds them. All the people that worked on this, I think that I'm grateful that they did. My thanks to them, and I hope that in the future the lessons learned from here can be put to good use whenever it happens to be necessary, whatever comes next. So I think for me, that pretty much lets you know what I think about it.
Any other discussion?
Sure.
Mr. Lee?
I think there's a lot of great points made here, and I'll try not to be redundant, because I think everyone that spoke so far has brought up very valid points. You know, this week has been, you know, long and stressful, but it's been good because we've been able to take the time to learn a lot of information. And for me as a new council member, it's been very, very good, because I've learned a lot of things about, you know, how these numbers work and how the process works. And I just a few points that really come down to driving me to support this, which I do, is Mr. Walter stated it does give tax relief to the citizens, you know, across the board. I sit back and I think, what if, you know, for as long as that road's been there, and for as many companies that have possibly been coming that don't come, I can't think of a better one than AEP. And I think they will be a great anchor company for the park. And I worry, if we don't move forward with this, you know, will we ever get anything? And will other companies look at us and go, you know, we don't want to be there. They don't support us. And that's important to me, to show that support. And I also wonder if we don't if we don't do this and we don't get anybody, now how are we going to pay for the road? At least this roughly 800,000 gets us halfway there. It certainly doesn't pay for all of it. And I get that this deal may not be the best deal for the city, and I hope that, and I feel very confident that we can work well with the schools moving forward. But if we don't do something, we're paying for the whole road on our own, because there'll be nobody back there to at least help us with that. So I feel like this gets us close. It may not get us as close as we want, but I feel that the best thing for the city right now is to support this.
Any thoughts, Todd? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I guess I'll start from a little bit different perspective. I don't, having tried to familiarize myself with the economic development scheme that we have here in the state of Ohio, I can't say from a personal perspective that I'm really very much in favor of it. I think that it puts the burden of a lot of these abatements on the backs of taxpayers. And I want to continue the thought that I had from last meeting before I got interrupted by the members of the school boards and Dr. Wagner. In the JED zone, there's a 1.75% income tax that's levied on anybody who works there. And under the JED agreement, and this is up to the JED board, up to 16% of what's collected can go to each school district. And so if you are a homeowner, say in Licking Heights or in Southwest Licking, and you pay property taxes to those school districts, and then a company comes in and gets an abatement, you end up paying, in part, your employer's property tax that they don't pay because they get an abatement. Now, do I blame AEP for this? No, I do not. That's the rules, and that's when they're playing by them. I've been an attorney for 25 years, and trust me, there's lots of laws that I don't like, and lots of rules that I don't like, but I have to abide by them because that's just how it is. So, from that perspective, I think that the citizens of Pataskala ought to understand what that abatement means, and I think that it is philosophically, it's not illegal. I just think it's grossly unfair to have workers pay their employer's property tax for them. I just don't think that's good, but that's the system that we have. So we have to live within that framework. It's kind of like a Greek tragedy. You only have 24 hours to get it done, whether you like it or not. So anyway, but I can put that past and not really look at that, my philosophical or personal problem with it. But I think that AEP is a great company. I think we couldn't ask for a better company to come into the park. And it's true, it's not the development that we thought we were going to have, but having an Amazon / Aetna style development they got lightning in a bottle down there for whatever reason. So that may or may not ever happen. But on the $800,000 that we're going to get, I know we wanted to get a little bit more. We have to consider this, that no matter how much money we get, it's going to come in piecemeal, and it's over a 17-year period. So if in year 8 we have to repave the road, we're only going to have half the money anyway, even if no matter what we get. So, and also I don't want to be seen as an old curmudgeon who just says no, don't do this, no, don't do that. I have no illusions. And I want to commend the school boards. In some regards, they don't know what they're talking about, and that was demonstrated at the meeting last week. But I do want to commend them on their negotiating style. I think it was fantastic to take the bull by the horns and run rings around everybody. I think I commend them as somebody who negotiates for a living. Hats off to them. So I think this was a big learning curve, a big learning situation for the city to see how this gets done. I think we'll be better prepared the next time. But I'm not overly sanguine about the school board's position in the future on future development. And quite frankly, the way the economic development scheme is set up in the state of Ohio, it favors them, and they just have a lot of default positions in the statute and in the JED agreement that are very advantageous to them. So there's some disincentive for them to be negotiating, because that's just the rules. That's just the rules that they are, like them or not. That's where we are. So an example would be the statute that when the payroll tops $1 million, and they get to share in not the JED tax, they get to share potentially, and there's a statute that gives them this right to share in our income tax collections from that project. So maybe this is a good thing that the payroll's at $800,000. We won't have to share. We'll see what the JED board does with allocating the JED tax. How they do that. It's up to 16% to each school district. I understand that Southwest Licking gets a percentage from the Etna, the projects in the Etna park. So they do receive that. I don't think it's 16%, but anyway. So am I totally happy? No, I'm not totally happy, but I'm rarely totally happy. So what can I say? Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
That was a good round of respectful input. Mr. Fox?
Yeah. There's a couple things I want to answer back to a couple of the comments that were made. Tax relief. Majority of Southwest Licking School District, or a large percentage of Southwest Licking School District, is not in the city of Pataskala. So we're giving tax relief. We're giving tax relief to Western Licking County. A large percentage of the school district for Licking Heights is not in the city of Pataskala. In fact, it's in a different county. It's in Franklin County. So we're given quite a percentage of, if you want to call it, tax relief.
I think my comment was actually to the communities that the school districts serve. So it's that tax relief,
Okay,
including ours.
But it's not to our residents.
Including ours.
Yeah, I mean, there's some to ours, but a lot goes out.
Correct.
And that being said, that's just important to note that, I've chimed for years about how the JR site needs to be structured, or JRS site needs to be structured to create tax relief for our residents. Possibly, an AEP is a good one for this. AEP will be there in 17 years. AEP probably is not going to be a partner, as Columbus right now is having one issue after another with partners that they thought were their paydays and they thought that they could count on, and they're leaving. And they're coming up shy. They're not coming up with the jobs that are necessary that they promised in the short term. And in fact, Columbus City Council just today had an article in the Dispatch that they have to rethink the way they've permitted property tax abatements big time, because they're starting to realize that they are maybe on the losing end. That will not happen with AEP. That is a positive that we know isn't going to happen with AEP. And in 17 years, when this is all said and done, the residents will finally see some property tax relief. However, the school district will probably lose quite a bit by then, because I don't think the personal property tax is going to be around for that many more years, from what I've understood from some of the legislatures. But that being said, I have real concerns about the future and negotiations with the school district, because, quite honestly, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in somebody that would say that they're a partner of 4 and negotiate with 3 of them and keep the 4th one sitting on the sideline. So when negotiations do happen, I believe it's going to be a tough time, and we're going to have a tough team of negotiators that can go in and sit down and get what's right for us. And I think the school district needs to understand that that's what's coming. That we can't sit idly by and say, give us the back end here. We'll take what you got. I think the right move is probably to take what we got tonight, but it's not fair and it's not equitable whatsoever.
Any other discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Carter,
Recuse.
Fox,
Yes.
Hayes,
Recuse.
Barstow,
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Fox, seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion and roll.
Hicken,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Carter,
Oh, yes, sorry. I got in a habit. I'm not allowed to talk
Allowed to
anymore. It's
recuse.
kind of nice, actually.
Fox, Hayes,
You're refusing to adjourn?
Yes.
Refusing to adjourn.
You're refusing to adjourn?
Yes.
Refuse to recuse. I refuse
Yes.
to recuse.
Meeting adjourned.
What time is it?